So I'm here in my little, I guess, what do you want to call it, improv fish room. Oh, they heard me talking and they ran and hid. Just got done working about 5 12-hour shifts. I still have one more to go. I was looking back on my old tank stuff though, and I realized it's been almost 1 year exactly since I almost lost this fish. So what happened is, around about now, which like I said, I have my summer spawns still, plus I have 3 spawns right now. Indoors here, it just, this time seems to trigger spawning. And a year ago, she got chased to death. I mean, literally to death. And I'll insert a little clip of her in the tank a year ago. And certain things can basically trigger shock and death in fish. So one of those is aggressive breeding behavior that can trigger, I mean, that's what happened with her. She was chased to death. And another one is doing a massive water change when your fish are not used to massive water change, and too significant of a water change, too significant of a pH shift. I had a lot of my fish that I have now, I took a break from goldfish keeping because I had a 300-gallon with all different kinds of fish and stock tank pond in the basement, and the person I trusted to fill it up forgot it running for 6 hours, flooded the basement, and shocked all the fish. Back then, I didn't know what I know now. I'm trying to think of other instances where I've seen shock in fish. But you'll recognize shock in a fish because they will move, but it's like they're blind. They just bump into things and they don't register things, and you can touch them and they may swim away a little bit. And that's can be, a fish that's really ill, but if there's something that triggered it, that's still a savable level of shock. And how you save a fish from shock is you need to hyperoxygenate them, because in a sense they suffocate because they're not moving water through their gills, and so they suffocate. So she had, let me see if I can move this hose. Yes, she had gone into shock and was at that stage where she was just drifting around basically. And I put her in a bucket with 3 different hoses off the oxygen bubbler going, and basically just left her because I had to go to sleep. I kept trying. You can try and keep them moving, keep tapping them, keep them moving, but basically you need to hyperoxygenate them. And so that's what I did. I put her in a bucket with 3 different oxygen hoses and left her overnight, and she came out of it, and here she is a year later. And this isn't the only fish I've ever gotten out of shock, because I've had other fish go into shock. Fortunately not a lot, but it does happen. And so she's not the only one I've saved, but I do have footage of her in that state of shock that I'll add into this clip here at the end of her in shock. So here she is a year out. So if that happens to your fish, if you do too massive of a water change, pH situation, something, the water temp, you didn't match the temp good enough, and you start seeing those symptoms of shock, you need to just basically keep them moving, or keep them oxygenated, and that's your best bet for saving them. And she is my living proof that it works still a year later.